Hey, what's up? This is Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz, and this is my weekly NFL column called Black Quarterback. I'm just here to give y'all my pick for this weekend's Super Bowl 60. So, we finally made it, Super Bowl 60. We have the Seattle Seahawks facing off against the New England Patriots in a matchup that I personally like to call the Internet's Super Bowl. So, if you can remember the last time these two teams actually played in a Super Bowl, Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson actually threw an interception to Patriots cornerback Malcolm Butler at the time, and that was at the time that was one of the most controversial calls of probably not just Super Bowl, but like of any in sports history. It's Wilson threw that interception instead of handing the ball off the Seahawks running back Marshawn Lynch, and from that day on, that night the internet went in an uproar, and they're still pretty much in an uproar about that. But that also a lot of people also pinpoint that as to when the Seahawks quote unquote dynasty was kind of destroyed before it even took off. You know what I'm saying? Nobody really saw Wilson the same at saw Wilson looked at Wilson the same as that since that moment. Marshawn Lynch, he, didn't have very much long after that in his career. That team just kind of, broke up, and Patriots just kind of went on about their business. Tom Brady kept winning a couple more Super Bowls, even when he left the Patriots. So, all in all, it was just a different time at that particular moment. And fast forward to this Sunday, it's a completely different team on both teams, completely different rosters. For the New England Patriots, they're led by Drake May, second year quarterback, guy who's been thrown around in the MVP conversation. But also, they have a head coach, and for that first in Mike Vrabel, who's it's his first year leading this team. But he's, what I'm saying, the story with Mike Vrabel, former New England Patriot. That's actually, what I'm saying, part of those earlier championship teams. For the Seattle Seahawks, they have Mike McDonald leading this team in their second year, but they also have a first year quarterback in Sam Darnold, who's been kind of having a resurgence of a career in these past couple of seasons. So it's a very interesting matchup, so to speak, where there's talent loaded on both sides of the ball, both offense and defense. And so I'll get into, all of what's going to be a factor and what's not going to be a factor. So, getting through that rough intro, a couple things just to know about each team coming into this game. Um, Patriots postseason run, uh, their regular season excellence really didn't match up. Uh, yeah, the regular season excellence from the offense was kind of overshadowed by what the defense has done in this postseason. 16-3 score, beating the Los Angeles Chargers. 28-17 beating the Houston Texans. 10-7 beating the Denver Broncos. That Texans game was probably one of their best games defensively and offensively. Um, Offensively, they were able to. Drake May was able to throw up a couple of big plays, even have a couple of touchdowns thrown in that game as well. But the biggest story out of that Texans game was the defense generating four interceptions, one of them being a pick six by cornerback Marcus Jones. For the Seattle Seahawks, um, definitely been a very, I would have to say, dominant playoff run uh, in just these two games. 41-6 over the San Francisco 49ers, blowout win over that team. Um, and then they come back the next week, a little bit closer, 31-27, but not as close as the score suggested. Seahawks, they had an early on test in that game, and they overcame it. You know what I'm saying? They just played uh, tremendous Seahawks football and just really pulled through in that win. So for both of these teams, they've had pretty, as I mentioned earlier, they've had pretty great years, uh, led by both quarterbacks. Drake May, he finished in the top, I believe, five in passing yards, probably top 10, but he finished in the top 5 or 10 in passing yards this year. As I mentioned, he's been thrown around in quite a few MVP categories. Probably his marquee win was beating the Buffalo Bills, longtime division foe of theirs, longtime division ruler of the AFC East uh, for, well, a couple years now. But you know what I'm saying, just beating them early on in the season to really kind of put themselves in a position to get this number 2 seed at 14-3. For the Seattle Seahawks, Sam Darnold, second straight year enjoying his comeback for his career. Last year he was with the Minnesota Vikings, led them to a playoff berth. Actually had a chance to get the number 1 seed last year with the Vikings, but didn't get it. Ended up with the 5th seed and got bounced in the first round. This year he's finding himself in a completely different position. Ended up getting the 1 seed, and now he's looking to end his season with a championship and not a first round exit. He was pretty much a top 10 QB in quite a few categories. At one point, he even led the league in passing, you know what I'm saying, in passing yards. So he's definitely been putting up a hell of a year, hell of a career year this year, and it's looking like it's about to pay off for him in just one more game. So, a couple of things that are kind of knocking on both of these teams. Despite Seattle being great this year, their the playoff run is kind of I would say it kind of worked against them a little bit. Just being so dominant, it's had to have been a little bit boring, in my opinion. So coming into that game, you know, you would think you probably didn't. You would think the San Francisco 49ers put up a better fight, considering their division rivals and that NFC West is just such a really tough division, really tough competitive division. But that just wasn't the case. They just, you know, the Seahawks just bowled them over from start to finish. Rashid Shaheed, he had that big kickoff return to kind of set things off, and you just knew it was kind of over with right then and there. Um, Patriots, as far as they go for their postseason, even though it didn't show uh, for their postseason because they actually beat playoff teams, they've really kind of had like a relatively weak schedule during the regular season. And so a lot of teams, a lot of critics have probably, you know, kind of poked holes in their journey to get into this number 2 seed. Um, so, you know, I think the only team that they actually like beat that was like actually, you know, in the playoffs might have been the actually I believe they beat the Steelers, and I think it was Buffalo, and I think that's just where it stops. You know what I'm saying? So um, outside of that, a lot of their wins they really just came from teams that have just either on the verge of making the playoffs and missed them, or just completely missed the playoffs altogether. So not a real strong schedule in the regular season. And if they did make up for it in the postseason, um, you know, but still, then critics have kind of like just poked holes in those wins. So with the Texans game, you know, they even though you know what I'm saying the defense had 4 interceptions, people still kind of point out that the Texans didn't have their top 2 receivers in Nico Collins and tight end Dalton Schultz. Um, Hell, the Broncos is probably the most obvious example. The Broncos didn't have Bo Nix, who suffered a freak injury, a freak ankle injury, at the end of their divisional round win, and so they had to, you know, turn it around and they just had to turn to their backup quarterback within a week in Jared Stidham, and so well you saw how that went. So yeah, it's just been a lot of people just kind of poked holes in what I'm saying, their particular journey into the Super Bowl game. Now, what the Patriots does have going for them, and which is going to be a key matchup in this game, is obviously their defense, but particularly their secondary. Their secondary, especially with Carlton cornerbacks Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez, are going to be very key in the matchup that they have with the Seahawks. With the Seahawks having Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So Davis and Gonzalez have been playing well this postseason. Gonzalez, he had a pick in the Broncos game. Um, Davis, in that game where they generated 4 interceptions against the Texans, he had two of them, including like this crazy ass interception on the sideline. So I think those two guys are going to be key. Marcus Jones also had a pick six in that Texans game. So look out, the Patriots, they're known for like kind of bringing in those unknown guys in different, what I'm saying, in different parts of their units. So whether offense or defense, some guys going to step up. And not to be outdone, that defensive line for the Patriots has been tremendous as well. So look for guys like Milton Williams to really just come in and kind of tear things up on that front. But definitely the secondary is going to be key because they're going to have to go up against Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's probably been like the best quarterback wide receiver duo this season. As I mentioned, at one point, Darnold was leading the league in passing yards. JSN was leading the league in receiving yards at one point. And so he might have finished or whatever, but he definitely held the lead for that. And so that's going to be your real that's going to be a real interesting matchup just to see like how they present coverage to try and confuse Darnold and make him make errant throws and things like that, or just make him hold on to the ball a little bit too long. As far as that secondary goes, it's going to be interesting to see like who's covering JSN and how they're blanketing them and all this other stuff, and just to see how JSN can get open because he can pretty much be all over the field. There was a reason that he's led in passing yards because he will take it off. He will go deep, take the coverage off the top or whatever, or take the top off the coverage. I don't know why am I dyslexic right now. Anyway, but yeah, he will go deep. But I'm pretty sure that they will be prepared for that and just kind of hold him. What I'm saying, just really kind of hold him in check for a little bit and not let him just take over the game. So very key matchup right there. So with that being said, I'm gonna have to go ahead and go with the Seattle Seahawks to win this game. And so here's the thing with the Patriots. They're a really good team. Done all they they've done all they can to make it to the number 2 seed. And even despite having that quote unquote weak schedule, they still managed to beat playoff teams. It don't matter how their offense showed up. The defense still held it down and allowed the offense to make big plays. But the thing is, that's the problem. The offense has not shown up, really shown up consistently for this to uphold the Patriots defense. Don't get me wrong, the Patriots offense has made big plays to like kind of seal the game off. Like even last week against the or a couple weeks ago against the Broncos, Drake May he ran for the first down to kind of just seal the game off, but um, just putting together like a complete game plan throughout the entire game, it just has not been done by the New England Patriots, and that's something that they're gonna have to figure out how to do, especially with a young quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And so things might be different, coming this Sunday since they've had like a couple weeks off, but it just doesn't seem likely. Um, like the offense, yeah, it just has not. Can I read my writing? Yeah, the offense is just not really just showing up as much as it has during the regular season. I mean, yeah, we talked about the week schedule, but what I'm saying, defense they really kind of held up their end of the bargain for this particular game. for this particular postseason run. For the Seahawks, they've done quite the opposite, if you will. So in both playoff games, they went over the 30-point mark. 41 obviously against the 49ers and 31 against the Los Angeles Rams. And so for me, it's not just them. Yeah, I said that this is kind of boring for them or whatever, but it seems like they have a certain control over what they want to do and how they can go about executing it. And so what I mean by that is like it seems like they can turn this thing on and turn this thing off when they want to. And it's not, it really speaks to like how many weapons that this team actually has. So um, I would say with the with it's not just Darnold and JSN. You have guys like wide receivers Cooper Cup. You have Rashid Shaheed. He, Cup and Shaheed. Those two wide receivers. Running back Kenneth Walker. And Kenneth Walker, he had a 100-yard game um, against the 49ers. And he did that, when their passing game. It wasn't so much that the passing game wasn't just on in that 49ers game, they just didn't have to be on. He really just kind of took over in that game and just kind of flourished and just kind of carried the win away. And while the Seahawks defense kind of, did damage as well. Um, so yeah, they just have a lot of weapons on that Seahawks offense where one guy isn't getting the ball, like JSN. They have Cup they can go to. They have Shaheed they can go to. They can find some plays out of AJ Barner, that tight end. And so it's just so much wealth of talent around on that Seahawks offense that they can probably put up another 30 or 40 points um, against against this Patriots team. And this Patriots team has a pretty good defense. But there's just so much versatility with the Seahawks offense. And on top of that, the Seahawks defense doesn't get talked about enough. Demarcus Lawrence, Leonard Williams, those guys have been great on this postseason as well. They will definitely be terrorizing uh, that Patriots offensive line, an offensive line that features a rookie at left tackle, but also features a quarterback that's been sacked like 5 times in each of these playoff games. So um, they're gonna definitely try to get after him and get home to him in this game. So with all of that said, like it just seems like there's so much in favor of the Seahawks as far as talent goes on both sides of the ball. The Patriots, they're a good team. They've handled their business. They're a young team, but they're talented. You know what I'm saying? They've handled their business to get where they need to go, and the future is gonna look super bright for them. You know what I'm saying? But on this particular day, this particular weekend, I just don't see it happening for them. I think the Patriots will put up a fight, but I think the Seahawks are gonna fight just a little bit harder and walk away with this win. So that's all I got for y'all. If you're watching this on Facebook, facebook.com/Brandon Blog, like my page, like this video, share this video to your news feed. If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, hit the subscribe button, share this video with whoever you want to share it with. So I'm Brandon Simmons from BrandonSimmons.biz. Holla black.